Hey guys, this is Mr. Lane. This is NTI, day number 3 for 6th grade social studies. Welcome to my YouTube page. Today we will be talking about exploration and colonization. Today we are going to review some of our 5th grade concepts that I taught you about last year. And if you weren't a student here last year, that's okay. These are the core content standards that you should have been taught, and I bet you were last year. So this will help give you a reminder. Now remember, there will be an assignment. There will be a link under this video that will ask you questions directly related to what I talk about this video. So remember, if you get to a question that you don't know, watch the video again. Watch the video. It'll tell you exactly what the answer is. I don't care if I help you too much. I just want you to know what the material is. So let's get started with NTI day number 3, social studies for 6th grade. Okay, so exploration. All right, there was a very important Venetian, which is a person from Venice, Italy, right? Now, you probably only know him from a game you play in the pool called Marco. Right, Polo, right? Marco Polo is not just a pool game. Marco Polo was a very important European. Now, the reason he was important is because he traveled to China and the East, okay, in East Asia. He traveled along the Silk Road, which it wasn't silky smooth at all. It was an extremely rough, terrifying road that had thieves. But he traveled this road from Europe east to China. Now, he was an explorer. And what made him really important and memorable to a lot of people is the fact that he was thrown in prison. And during his time in prison, he had a friend of his write a book called The Adventures of Marco Polo. Now, they called him Marco of the Millions because they said he exaggerated a million different stories. But he described the riches and the gold and the spices of East Asia. Now, once this book had some following, okay, people wanted to go to the east, except they didn't want to take the Silk Road because why? It was horrible. It was a horrible road, okay? It got you there, but getting there was kind of a bear. A lot of people died on this road, so they wanted to find a shorter, faster, safer route. Well, they decided that they wanted to find East Asia by finding a water route. Okay, they wanted to go across from the Atlantic, Magellan. Tried some routes, but there was this guy named Christopher Columbus who wanted to take a different route. Okay, he wanted to take a different route. He thought it would be faster to go from the Atlantic and go all the way around the world to the east. Everybody else had tried to travel west, the most direct route. He said, well, I don't think it's that big. Now, of course, we know Columbus. Columbus sailed across the Atlantic, and guess what he found? He found an island in the Caribbean, which would lead to the discovery of 2 new continents, North and South America, which is where we live, right? So he didn't, even when he died, he made 4 different trips over to the New World, right? But he never knew where he was. He never knew. He established a colony, and he died. He kind of lost his mind a little bit, but he never knew where he was. So it was one of the greatest mistakes in the history of mankind. He wasn't trying to find a new place. He was trying to find East Asia and find money, because that was the main motivation for explorers and people who colonized an area, to make money. So Christopher Columbus, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He didn't know where he was going, and he discovered 2 continents in the process. So the greatest disaster, or the greatest mistake, not disaster, but the greatest mistake in the history. Of course, his colony led to horrible treatment of the Native Americans, and it led to these new European settlers colonizing the New World and taking land from the Native Americans, which was It was horrible for these people. They had disease that killed many a large percentage of the Native Americans from disease, and war. The Spanish conquistadors, conquered the Aztecs and slaughtered these people. So the Native Americans' treatment by the Europeans was terrible. But the United States would be colonized because of the discovery, which gave birth to the greatest nation in the history of the world, in my opinion. So let's talk about three of the big settlements. Okay, let's talk about three of the big settlements. First, Jamestown, Virginia. If you remember John Smith, the Disney movie Pocahontas, right? Immortalized Pocahontas and John Smith. But really, he was it's supposed to be a great love story between John Smith and Pocahontas in Jamestown, of how she helped the Jamestown colony in the 1600s survive by convincing her chief Powhatan, her dad, to help the colony. So the love story is false. Okay, by all historical records, Pocahontas was a little girl, your guys' age, 5th, 6th grade age, and John Smith was a man. He was in his 40s or late 30s. Okay, that never happened. She did help the colony survive, but there was that part of Disney was fiction. Okay, she did help Jamestown. But she did marry, from last year, remember the seed? Okay, John Rolfe brought the tobacco seed. He acquired it. It was illegal. He acquired it from South America and brought it to the Jamestown colony, which led to a cash crop known as tobacco. Now, tobacco, smoking, dipping, is a terrible thing. It kills people. It does. My family's got a history of cancer from that. But tobacco, in this case, saved the Jamestown colony. It did, because the money they received from growing these crops made Jamestown boom, and it was the first lasting colony in what would become the United States, other than in Florida, which was under Spanish control. But for the Europeans, for the English, their first surviving colony. So, because of tobacco, this began slavery in the New World, which is another great sin of our country. But they would bring in African workers as slaves to work the fields in Jamestown. But Jamestown was the first permanent English colony. You need to know that one. 10 years later, there were some religious pilgrims. We celebrate Thanksgiving, who wanted to establish a colony in the New World for religious freedom. They were actually heading south to a warmer climate in places close to Jamestown, but they kind of got lost on the way over, and they ended up going too far north into what would become Plymouth, Massachusetts. And if you know anything about the geography of New England, which is the Massachusetts area, the soil is very awful. Okay, it's not like the fertile soil of Jamestown. It's rocky, it's sandy, it's not as conducive for farming as the South. It wasn't. And the Pilgrims, when they arrived in Plymouth in 1620, they had a horrible time. They did. It was 10 years after the Jamestown colony was established. They had a terrible time. Many of them died. We have records of this, of the Pilgrims struggling to survive. But they were helped by the Pokanokan tribe. Okay, many of the Native Americans had died because of illness, because of the new settlements trying to spring up. Again, there were other colonies, but Jamestown was the most famous. Plymouth was also one of the most famous, and they would have not made it without the help of the Native Americans, and that was the Pokanokans. They celebrated working together for a battle that we talked about last year, where they actually fought against another Native group. They celebrated with what would become known as Thanksgiving. We give thanks, and that's one of our national holidays, and that is because of Plymouth. And remember, they came on the Mayflower. That was their very famous ship. You've heard of the Mayflower? That's Plymouth. Okay? Columbus's ship was the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. Don't confuse those. Okay. Those are just a couple of the big colonies that we talked about in the New World. I hope this refresher course helped you out. I hope you remember some stuff that was pretty entertaining. All right, it's NTI, day number 3. Boom. NTI Day 3, 6th grade social studies. We're reviewing some of our concepts about American history. On NTI Day 4 and beyond, we will be talking about more world history, which is our standards this year. Okay, so I hope that helped. I'm going to be quiet, and I hope you guys like the video, and I hope that you do well on your assignment. Good luck. See you later.